this would be a great opening to talk about this conversation. So, um, because there are so many women out there that I even come in contact with that is in a domestic violence relationship. There are even men who are in domestic violence relationships where they're being abused by their wives or their girlfriends. Um, and it's serious, right? And I just want you parents to know that when you are in a domestic violence relationship and you have children, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your children. So, me, for me, when I saw for every slap, every hit, every punch, every kick that my mom got, I got. I felt those. Yeah, I did. And I watched my mom being beaten black and blue, and I watched her stay in this relationship, right? And I remember making a vow to God saying I would never let a man beat on me the way this man beat on my mom. But little did I know, right? As I made the promise about the hitting, I didn't think about the mental part. So I got into a marriage where I was being mentally abused. Um, it was tough. I can say that. And it wasn't until Yahweh healed me that I realized uh, what I was dealing with, right? So I'm going to give you the testimony from um, my testimony when I was younger about this poem and about domestic violence. So I grew up in a home where domestic violence was a way of life. I watched my mom being beaten on a daily. So, short part of that, um, my mom basically chose her man over me. And when I say that is when I told my mom that her boyfriend was abusing me, um, she didn't believe me. And then when she found the proof that it was happening, my mom became um, hurtful, right? Because now I'm no longer her child. I am the other woman, right? And so um, he didn't want to give me up, but she didn't want me there. But because she didn't want to lose him, she tolerated me being there. And here I am at the age of 8 years old, vying for my mother's love, but at the same time hurt because this man was not only hurting me, he was hurting my mom. And then he would use me to say, he wouldn't hurt my mom if I um, would allow him to have sex with me. So, to save my mom from being abused, I would. And so, uh, Yahweh, I just thank you for my healing. Because of this, it shaped me into this person who wanted to have ultimate control. Right? When I got older, I had a boyfriend and I had another man and a husband. In case one acts crazy, I had a backup. Right? But Sabrina was going to be in charge of this narrative. I was never going to let a man control me the way this man controlled my mom. And I was on a road to destruction because I was hurting and I didn't care who I hurt because I wasn't going to let anybody hurt me that way ever again. Right? So I remember him telling me one day that I was 15. And he said to me, when you turn 18, you're going to be my wife because I have been grooming you to be my wife. And I remember I was washing dishes and I turned around and I had a kitchen knife in my hand and I said to him, excuse the expression, but like hell, one of us won't survive if I was to be your wife. Right? And I said that at 15. I'll never forget. And it must have been the look in my eyes because he turned and he walked out of the kitchen. Because I knew then that I was never going to marry this man. And it was at this point that I knew that if I didn't get out, something bad was going to happen. Right? So, back to my testimony. Uh, yes, my mom fought back and got in a few good licks, but it didn't come close to what she lost or the scars she got from the abuse, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. I watched a beautiful, strong, intelligent, opinionated warrior beaten down to a woman of self loathing and low self esteem, not knowing her own worth. The physical abuse was black eyes, bruised ribs, broken fingers, busted eardrums, and a couple of teeth missing from being knocked out. Constant beating and being told how ugly and worthless she was her emotional state, all left her with a broken spirit. Drugs and alcohol became her coping mechanism. I didn't it didn't matter how often family and friends told her to get out of this relationship, she wouldn't. I remember trying to convince my mom to leave after making an ice pack for her swollen eye and jaw and giving her a cold rag to place on her busted lip. Ma, let's go somewhere. He'll never find us, I cried. This man is going to kill you one day. She looked at me and shook her head and said, no, he won't. He loves me. I was, I was like, excuse me, what? Sabrina, she said, you have to understand his story. He's been hurt so many times. He was abused as a child. He needs me. I can help him. My love will heal him. My mom said this. She thought that her love would heal this man who was causing havoc in our lives, who was not only abusing me, but other girls in our neighborhood, right? She thought she could heal him. And I stared at my mom like she was an alien from the planet Clueless. And the entire side of her face was swollen and her eyes were almost shut. I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, are you hearing yourself? Do I need to get a mirror so you can see yourself? Help him. Heal him. Are you kidding me? This man is raping me and beating you half to death, and you want me to understand him? Ma, you're not God. You can't help him. You can't even help yourself. And I remember this like it was yesterday. My mom looked at me with cold eye, a look on her face I had never seen before. And it was like venom dropped from her lips, her bruised, bloody lips, and the coldness in her eyes. I'll never forget this day. And my mom looked at me and she says, "Who do you think you're talking to? If you ever speak to me like that again, I'll kick your bleepity bleep, bleep, bleep." I didn't know how to respond to that. I didn't even understand it. I was 15 years old and I didn't understand this kind of relationship. And I made a vow that no man would ever beat on me the way this man did my mom.